Don Quixote. Author, Miguel de Cervantes. Written in 1605. Don Quixote, written by Miguel de Cervantes, is one of the most celebrated works of literature in Western culture. Originally published in two parts in 1605 and 1615, it is often hailed as the first modern novel. The story is both a comedic and tragic exploration of idealism, the nature of reality, and the impact of literature on the human mind. Here's a comprehensive summary of this monumental work. Plot overview. The novel follows the adventures of Alonso Quixote, an aging Spanish gentleman who becomes obsessed with books of chivalry and knights-errant. His obsession drives him to believe that he is a knight named Don Quixote de la Mancha, destined to revive chivalry and protect the helpless. He dons an old suit of armor, renames his aging horse Rocinante, and sets off on his quest. Quixote is accompanied by his loyal but simple-minded squire, Sancho Panza, who rides a donkey named Dapple. Part 1. The delusions begin. The first part of the novel introduces Don Quixote's madness and his delusional world. Quixote's first adventure involves attacking windmills, which he believes to be giants. This incident is one of the most iconic scenes in literature, symbolizing the theme of misperception and the blurred line between reality and illusion. Don Quixote's misadventures continue as he encounters various people, mistaking them for characters from his beloved books of chivalry. For example, he mistakes a group of monks for enchanters and a herd of sheep for an army. His delusions often result in physical harm, yet Quixote remains undeterred, convinced that he is living the life of a true knight. Sancho Panza, while more grounded in reality, is also swayed by Quixote's delusions. He follows Quixote in hopes of being rewarded with the governorship of an island, a promise Quixote makes repeatedly despite having no power to grant it. Sancho's relationship with Quixote is central to the novel, offering both comic relief and poignant insights into human nature. One of the most important episodes in the first part is Don Quixote's encounter with a group of goatherds. Here, he delivers a speech about the Golden Age, an idyllic time of peace and simplicity. This speech reveals the depth of Quixote's idealism and his desire to restore a lost world of honor and virtue. However, his ideals are continually contrasted with the harsh realities of the world he lives in. The priest and the barber's intervention. Realizing that Don Quixote's madness stems from his obsession with books of chivalry, his friends, a priest and a barber, decide to intervene. They burn many of his books, hoping to cure him of his delusions. However, this only drives Quixote further into his fantasies. He sets out on a new series of adventures, believing that he must continue his quest to right wrongs and achieve eternal glory. During one of these adventures, Don Quixote frees a group of galley slaves, believing they are unjustly imprisoned. This act results in a brutal beating for both Quixote and Sancho. Despite this, Quixote interprets the incident as a victory and continues to view himself as a hero. The enchantment of Dulcinea. Central to Don Quixote's quest is his love for a lady named Dulcinea del Toboso, whom he envisions as the epitome of beauty and virtue. In reality, Dulcinea is a simple peasant woman named Aldonza Lorenzo, but Quixote's delusions transform her into a noble lady. His love for Dulcinea drives many of his actions, and he dedicates all his victories to her, despite never actually meeting her in the course of the novel. In one episode, Sancho Panza tells Quixote that Dulcinea has been enchanted and turned into a peasant girl. This deception, intended as a practical joke by Sancho, adds another layer to Quixote's delusions. Quixote believes that only he can break the enchantment, further fueling his quest. Part 2. The Metanarrative. The second part of Don Quixote is more self-aware and complex. Cervantes introduces the idea that Don Quixote and Sancho Panza have become famous due to the publication of the first part of the novel. Characters they encounter are aware of their previous adventures, and some even try to manipulate or deceive them for their own amusement. In one significant episode, a duke and duchess, having read the first part of Quixote's story, decide to play elaborate pranks on him and Sancho. They convince Sancho that he has been made the governor of an island, which is actually just a village under their control. Sancho attempts to govern with wisdom and fairness but eventually gives up, realizing that the position is more trouble than it's worth. This episode explores themes of power, authority, and the gap between reality and illusion. The second part also features Don Quixote's descent into further delusion and despair. He continues to believe in his chivalric ideals, but the gap between his fantasies and reality becomes increasingly apparent. His body weakens, and he begins to question the value of his quest. The Night of the White Moon. The climax of the novel occurs when Don Quixote is challenged by a young man known as the Knight of the White Moon, who is actually one of Quixote's friends in disguise. The knight defeats Quixote and forces him to return home and abandon his quest. Broken and humiliated, Quixote returns to his village. The death of Don Quixote. Upon returning home, Don Quixote falls ill. In his final moments, he renounces his knightly identity and returns to being Alonso Quixano. He declares that his chivalric adventures were foolish and that he now sees the truth. He dies peacefully, surrounded by his friends and family, who mourn the loss of both Quixano and Don Quixote. Themes and legacy. Don Quixote explores a range of themes, including the conflict between idealism and realism, the power of literature, and the nature of identity. The novel is often interpreted as a satire of chivalric romances, but it also offers a deep and compassionate portrayal of a man who seeks to live by his ideals in a world that no longer values them. Cervantes' use of irony, metafiction, and character development has had a profound influence on literature. Don Quixote is not only a story of one man's madness but also a commentary on the human condition, the pursuit of dreams, and the complexities of reality. Conclusion. Don Quixote is a rich and multi-layered work that continues to resonate with readers centuries after its publication. Through the character of Don Quixote, Cervantes explores the enduring tension between dreams and reality, making the novel a timeless reflection on the human spirit. Whether seen as a tragic hero or a foolish dreamer, Don Quixote remains one of the most compelling characters in literary history. The end.